Welcome, friends, to a special time of discovery. Today we journey back to an ancient land, to a moment of faith and a fascinating challenge. Our story is called The Passover Dilemma, and it comes from the ancient book of Numbers. It's a tale that teaches us about God's incredible understanding and his boundless love for his people. Prepare to be inspired by a story of faith, questions, and divine answers. We'll explore the sacred celebration of Passover, a cornerstone of their faith. But within this holy observance, a unique problem arose, one that tested their devotion and their understanding of God's law. Imagine the vast golden desert, stretching endlessly under a brilliant sun. Here, the people of Israel, a mighty nation, journeyed, guided by God's presence. They followed his cloud by day and his pillar of fire by night, a constant reminder of his leadership. As they traveled, God had given them not just direction but also divine laws and sacred traditions. These rules were not burdens but gifts, designed to draw them closer to him and to live in harmony. Among these were special holidays, times set aside to remember his mighty acts. Of all these holy days, one stood out as profoundly significant: the Passover. It was more than just a holiday. It was a foundational memory, etched into the very heart of their nation. Every year, this celebration brought them together, uniting them in a shared history and hope. The Passover was established to commemorate God's miraculous deliverance of his people from bitter slavery in Egypt. It was a powerful reminder of the night the angel of death passed over their homes, sparing their firstborn. This act of salvation was the ultimate display of God's power and his unwavering commitment to his covenant. Central to this remembrance was a very special meal, rich with symbolism and meaning. This meal was not just food, it was a sacred ritual, a reenactment of that pivotal night. Each element of the meal told a part of their incredible story of liberation. The main dish was a lamb, carefully chosen and roasted whole. This lamb represented the sacrifice that saved their families from judgment in Egypt. It was a powerful symbol of protection and redemption. Alongside the lamb, they ate unleavened bread made without yeast. This reminded them of their hasty departure from Egypt, with no time for bread to rise. It symbolized the urgency and speed of God's deliverance. The entire meal served a singular, profound purpose: to help them remember God's amazing power. It was a time to reflect on his faithfulness, his strength, and his unfailing love for his chosen people. As the time for Passover drew near, a serious problem arose among the people. Some men found themselves in a difficult situation, unable to participate in the sacred celebration. These men were considered unclean according to God's laws. Their uncleanness stemmed from a specific circumstance. They had recently touched a dead body. In ancient Israel, touching a dead body, even accidentally, rendered a person ritually unclean for a period of time. This was not about being physically dirty, but about a spiritual state that temporarily separated them from holy activities. The consequence of this uncleanness was profound and heartbreaking for these men. Because of their ritual state, they were forbidden from celebrating the Passover with everyone else. They could not join in the communal meal or participate in the sacred rituals. Imagine the deep sadness and disappointment these men must have felt. Passover was a cornerstone of their identity, a moment of national unity and spiritual renewal. To be excluded from such a vital celebration was truly a heavy burden on their hearts. They longed to remember God's goodness, but their circumstances prevented them. With heavy hearts and a sense of injustice, these unclean men approached Moses, the great leader of Israel. They presented their dilemma, explaining their situation and their earnest desire to celebrate Passover. They asked, "Why should we be kept from offering the Lord's offering at its appointed time among the Israelites?" Moses listened to their plea, and his initial reaction was one of concern and uncertainty. He was worried, for he knew the strictness of God's laws regarding uncleanness and holy observances. He didn't immediately know what to do, as this was a unique situation not explicitly covered by existing commands. Moses, however, knew exactly where to turn for guidance. He didn't try to solve the problem on his own or make up a new rule. Instead, he did what he always did in times of uncertainty. He went directly to God. Moses sought the Lord, praying for wisdom and a clear answer to this perplexing situation. He understood that only God could provide a just and merciful solution that honored both the law and the hearts of his people. God, in his infinite wisdom and compassion, heard Moses' prayer. He always listens to the cries of his people, especially when they seek his guidance with sincere hearts. This moment reminds us that God is always listening, always attentive to our concerns and our needs. He cares deeply about our desire to honor him. God then gave Moses a specific instruction, a special provision for these men and for anyone else who might face similar circumstances. He told Moses to share this divine solution with all the Israelites. This provision applied not only to those who were unclean due to touching a dead body, but also to anyone who might be on a long journey far away from the camp. God understood that life's circumstances could sometimes make it impossible to observe the Passover at its appointed time. God's solution was a testament to his understanding and his desire for everyone to participate in remembering his goodness. He declared that these individuals could still celebrate Passover, not at the usual time, but exactly 1 month later. This second chance allowed them to fulfill their sacred duty and remember God's mighty acts. This divine intervention beautifully illustrates God's understanding and kindness. He is not a rigid taskmaster, but a loving father who sees beyond the letter of the law to the heart of his children. God truly gives second chances, especially when following his rules becomes genuinely difficult due to circumstances beyond our control. He desires our participation and our remembrance, not just our perfect adherence to a calendar date. So 1 month later, the unclean men and those who had been traveling far away gathered together. With joyful hearts, they celebrated the Passover, just as God had commanded. They ate the special meal, roasting the lamb and sharing the unleavened bread. Each bite was a reminder of God's faithfulness and his incredible provision. They remembered God's amazing power, his deliverance from Egypt, and now his gracious understanding in their own lives. Their hearts were filled with happiness and gratitude, knowing that God had made a way for them to honor him. The story of the Passover dilemma teaches us a profound and comforting lesson. God is loving and merciful. He doesn't just give us rules, he gives us grace when we genuinely seek to follow him, but encounter obstacles. This narrative beautifully demonstrates that God understands our problems and the challenges we face in life. He sees our hearts and our desire to obey, even when circumstances make it difficult. He is a God who gives second chances, always seeking to draw us closer to him rather than push us away. He wants us to remember and celebrate his goodness, his power, and his love, even in difficult times. This story encourages us to always turn to God with our dilemmas, knowing that he will provide a way. It reminds us that his compassion knows no bounds, and his desire is always for us to experience his presence and his salvation.